Hey, this is Mike Diercksen from Proactive, and you're listening to the Building Byte podcast. Tune in as we spotlight our guest, Shayne Gaffney, Senior Product Manager at Highwire. Our episode today is focused on pre-qualification, driving contractor success. For more information on this episode and others, please check out the Building Byte at www.buildwithproactive.com.
Welcome to the Building Byte podcast, a podcast for construction contractors, owners, and insurance professionals, where you'll hear from the experts about key topics that'll help you be successful. I'm Chris Epps, a Vice President at Proactive, and I'm joined here with my co-host, Mike Diercksen, our Manager of Marketing and Business Development. We welcome our guest today, Shayne Gaffney. Shayne is a Senior Product Manager at Highwire. Shayne, how are you this afternoon?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Fantastic. Looking forward to jumping in here. Mike, how about yourself?
Doing great, Chris. Excited to have Shayne on the show and kick this off.
Absolutely. Well, let's hop to it. Shayne, definitely a pleasure to have you back on the show. Before we dive into our main topic today, maybe you could tell our listeners and refresh them a little bit on your career path and kind of what led you to your current position with Highwire.
For sure. Yeah, great question. I have a very strange career path, I would say. First and foremost, I actually came from a medical background. So I'm a physical therapist by trade, actually, and by training. I was always into performance, always into making things better and seeing which dials and which levers I could pull to make things a little better. That got me into actually coaching professional cyclists and triathletes. I had a business for 5 years doing that professionally. And then I got into software actually through this company called Zwift, which is based in Southern California. Through that, I became a product manager, and I kind of get burnt out from the remote work. And that was also during COVID. I wanted to get back into an office and actually interact with people face to face. So that's when I went to Highwire in Burlington, Massachusetts, and where I'm in today doing construction. And it's really interesting to make the comparison from construction and subcontractors to athletic performance, where you have all these metrics you can judge a company on, whether it's safety or financials. I can do the same thing for athletes too, whether it's aerobic capacity or anaerobic capacity, and making these small little changes can actually make a big difference in the performance of the athlete, but also the performance of a subcontractor too. So some interesting parallels there I've seen so far in my career working in this industry.
You are right. That's a unique career path. 100%. That's the first time we've gotten that one.
That's true.
Weird,
but I could certainly see how with the KPIs may be different, but the methodology of that, finding the KPIs that you need to fine tune and refine and keep moving forward, it's a similar mindset going into that. So that kind of leads us to the topic of today, which is how pre-qualification drives contractor success. So, Shayne, pre-qual has been a huge topic within our industry for a long time, and it is critical to success for GCs. Tell us, how do you see pre-qualification at Highwire, and what does it mean to you guys and how you drive contractor success?
Yeah. So let's back up a little bit. I'm going to just give a brief history of Highwire first. So
Sure.
Highwire, we were built at Harvard because their AHS team really had a series of incidents that were impacting project delivery, and they were struggling to have their OSIP perform. OSIP was just underperforming with a lot of these projects. So what they wanted to do was build a software, and the application was really built on the idea that it's more important to understand the risks of the people on the job site than to actually worry about some binary, arbitrary pass or fail assessment. Because we believe everybody has risk, and the clients want to understand that risk and ensure contractors are successful within their scope of work. And more importantly, they're ready to do more great work on the next project. So really, a few ways clients use Highwire to deliver that contractor success today. First one is they're able to reduce bureaucratic data entry for contractors. So as an example of this, we have contractors who drag and drop their financial statements. They don't have to do any of that really painful, frictiony data entry. We have a great team internally to do all that data entry for the contractor. The contractor can also very easily invite users from their company who may have access to those sensitive financial documents or those sensitive W-9s, EIN information. They can invite them to the platform to just reduce that risk and also make sure that they have the information available to them. We also don't ask questions that are out of scope or irrelevant to the contractor. We also can really reallocate, the pre-construction time, and we move away from this really painful, very time-consuming document collection and document review into more of a collaborative discussion with contractors. And that kind of points to that first point of it's not a binary yes or no. It really should be a discussion between the subcontractors, the GCs, the asset owners, in terms of, is this the right contractor for this job at this time?
I tell you, I think the most poignant thing I took out of that, Shayne, was Harvard had trouble implementing their OSIPs. I don't know what chance there is for the rest of us, but interesting. You said that pre-qualification is there's more of an ongoing procedure than just looking at past performance and sort of binarily checking the box yes or no. Aside from that, what was it about that maybe drew you to the pre-qualification space or the Highwire team to the pre-qualification space to say, hey, there's here, let's fix this? Was there a specific problem you wanted to address, or did you just look at it and be like, there's a whole lot broken here, we got to, we sort of got to reinvent the wheel to some degree?
For sure, yeah, and I think that was really an exercise in just customer research and understanding and meeting the customer halfway. So we were already pretty famous for offering really great safety assessments and incident management solutions to help GCs and asset owners understand a contractor risk. And as we started to work more with asset owners, we started to onboard more GCs. We'd really hear from them and really where they were struggling. And the pre-qualification process was one of those things that we just kept hearing over and over and over again, that where they were struggling. So really, it was kind of a natural thing that came to be for us to build a product that was specifically designed for those GCs, looking to hone in on capacity and experience and financial risks of their subs, and also who wanted to understand what those lagging safety indicators were. TRIR, EMR, DART, recordable rates, all those things that are also important to understand from a safety perspective. And also, we also saw that the market was really just lacking a more focused GC product, and one that would really emphasize the financial impacts along with those lagging safety indicators as well.
Excellent. Yeah, Shayne, it's something our audience probably is looking to explore. And you mentioned it's a GC focused product. So can you tell us, how do you envision that impacting the market? Is there an ideal use case for these GCs to implement this product?
For sure. Yeah, I kind of mentioned this already, but there is typically a lot of paper chasing or just a lot of back and forth to get the data to make the decisions from. So we really try to approach it to reduce the friction from getting data into the platform, but also taking that data and creating really great visuals with that data. So many of the best clients, they're also looking to ensure they have a successful SDI program to meet the CARES requirements. And if we look at this from a perspective of a GC, again, getting their data uploaded, and we use this TurboTax style process where I mentioned this before, but the contractor will drag and drop their documents into Highwire. We have this, instead of this really long, painful scrolling lists of data entry, we actually have very succinct steps in which the contractor can enter their data. We also do allow for a lot of flexibility in the platform. So we allow for clients to configure project limits. We also allow for clients to configure flags. So flags is the way that Highwire is able to bring really relevant and important risk data to the top. So you can really fine-tune project limits and flags to meet the specific needs of your risk tolerances as a client.
And I'm sure that ease of use also kind of helps to alleviate just the bottlenecking that can occur at times, right? Because you've got the ability to delegate some of that work. Okay, it is as simple as drag and drop and pre-populating. So that way it's not only the risk manager is able to do this, or only a handful of people. It really kind of allows for a more streamlined process that way.
For sure.
Bottlenecking that always seems to occur at very critical times for a contractor too, Mike.
Right.
It's like it's always pivotal make or break decisions when it seems like you're waiting to get that pre-qual information. But And yeah, I mean, to that end, Shayne, it sounds like a great solution, and what a novel concept. You guys listen to your existing customers to identify this void where you're like, hey, let's give them something they can actually use, it's genius. One thing that did stand out to me, though, in light of that, is that you guys still maintain a very tailored approach, particularly in the ability to summarize data so quickly to eliminate and avoid those bottlenecks Mike was talking about. But how do you see that impacting your GC? I mean, is that the primary benefit they really get out of Highwire? Is like that is for the contractor in terms of just primary benefit, ease of use, all those things?
Yeah, I think that's one of the many benefits, I would say. As with any application or software or anything, you really want an out-of-the-box solution to meet your needs, but also be able to really fine-tune and tailor that to meet the specific needs of what you have. So we believe that our pre-qual product does this really well. And as I mentioned before, it's not like you're using Highwire as single and aggregate project limits, or you're using Highwire's risk flags. You're using your own project limits, your own risk flags. So you're able to really tailor and fine-tune Highwire to meet the needs of what you need it to do. You already mentioned this, but that streamlining process to allow for that decision to be made and the decision to be made faster is important. I'll focus on this for a minute. Most pre-qualification products, they collect data on an annualized basis. So sometimes you're making decisions off of 10 or 12-month-old data. We've actually been collecting data on a quarterly basis from subs, and that includes what their credit limit is and what's available in that credit, what their WIP and their backlog look like. So you're able to make decisions off of 1, 2, maybe 3-month-old data instead of potentially 10, 11, 12-month-old data. And really being able to show geographic experience, industry experience, the size of projects they've completed in the past. Those are great ways to just facilitate risk management internally and then standardize some of those metrics you're using as a company as well. So reducing the friction and streamlining is definitely something we like to toot our horn about, but there's a lot more in the products that we've also built in as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, Shayne. We've been doing this for a little while now, and one of the major through lines that we've seen in the show is just technology is great, data is great, but you have to use it the right way, right? So you mentioned using that data on a quarterly basis as opposed to an annual basis, just giving a more up-to-date snapshot could make the difference between maybe something going, it seems okay, versus, nope, we know that things have changed since we last talked and we've been updated. So it's a more educated decision. So certainly an important factor for our audience to kind of stay ahead of that and keep using the best available products and the best available information to them at that point in time. So with that, Shayne, it's been a great conversation. We appreciate your time and your expertise. One of the things we'd like to do on the show is leave our audience with 3 key takeaways. So keeping in mind that our audience is primarily contractors, subs, brokers, insurance professionals. If I'm listening to this episode today, what are the 3 key things that you want me taking away from this conversation?
For sure. Yeah. So I think the first, really one of the most important ones is pre-qualification is really understanding if a contractor has the capacity and experience to deliver on this project. So this is really critical to understand because you really can't evaluate a sub without knowing whether the work, geography, project size, all those things they've done in the past really match with their experience. So it really should be this project, that project, the next project should really be where your focus is. Number 2, most pre-qualification programs, they struggle to get good, complete data from contractors. So again, we've taken the approach for easy data collection, and also sharing that data is very important if you want to do any sort of comprehensive assessment. And then third is minimizing defaults, but also running effective SDI programs. That requires thinking about all of the ways that a contractor's financial, labor, experience, safety, geographic risk, all those things combine to leave a GC or owner exposed. And Highwire actually is a turnkey solution where we provide all that data to really see where those exposure points are and where those risks may be.
Perhaps slight tweak on that, Shayne. What about an action item, given everything you just mentioned? If our listeners were interested or they're looking to make a change with their pre-qual process or begin sort of working toward these solutions, what's step one? What's the starting place for them?
Yeah, I mean, what I kind of mentioned, but go look at the data you have for your pre-qualification, right? Is that data complete? How complete is it? Or is it really incomplete? Of the last 10 contractors you have gone through this pre-qual process with, how many of those have 3 years of audited financials? How many have 3 references from owners and subs? How stale is the data? Is it 10, 11, 12 months old? Or is it 2 or 3 months old, right? What could these gaps, if you do have them, mean for your risk exposure? That's really, I think, the action item I would leave, and really the critical one to understand from a pre-qual perspective.
Gotcha. Well, Shayne, before we let you go, hit you with a couple more rapid fire questions. One, we like to ask people, because we love to kind of get an understanding of where they're coming from, but what's the thing that gets you most energized and engaged getting out of bed every morning about working with GCs on pre-qualification and what Highwire does?
For sure. Yeah. So I think for me personally, it's making the job sites and making the projects, everything just safer, making everything safer, making sure people come home at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And, whether it's a GC, a large trade contractor, using Highwire to pre-qualify subcontractors, I think I'm really the most excited, just the way that we can track and share the way that our product makes that process easier, but also will make subcontractors happy and streamline the ability for them to actually collect that data. So the information that GCs need to make the award and the risk management decisions should also become a lot faster and easier as a result of that too.
Nothing better than making jobs safer for everyone to come home. So definitely appreciate that.
For sure.
Shayne, where do you see industry professionals struggling right now with pre-qualification, right? We've addressed the need for a GC-focused product. We've kind of talked about different things that led you guys to this space. But what do you think is like the number one thing that we just keep kind of running into with this product?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this a few times on this call now, so forgive me for mentioning it again, but it's really just making decisions from stale data. So 10, 11, 12-month-old data does present a risk. So if you do have more recent data, especially data that's going to change, again, WIP and backlog, all those things are going to change a lot more frequently than, say, the project experience may. And if they do that, contractors that fill in those forms with data that is 6 months old and then take on a project 6 months in the future, that is a struggle that we see with current industry professionals. They're just making decisions off of old data, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And we see that a lot. I guess building on that, there are a lot more tech and data solutions and tools entering the market, which are increasing our ability to be able to collect and analyze data and store data. What do you think, you're rubbing the crystal ball here, 5 years from now, what does that look like? What's the future of pre-qual given kind of the direction we're headed in and AI solutions and really faster driven analytics and more timely delivery of information? It seems like that would allow you guys to almost snowball what you're doing and be able to build on it a lot bigger, a lot faster.
For sure. Yeah, so I think AI is going to have a role here, and we've already introduced some AI into our platform with a reader for our safety manuals. So we're able to now go from, does this contractor have this program in place, to, if they have this program in place, what is the depth and the detail of that program? Is it really comprehensive, or is it just kind of a surface level program? So you can understand both if they have it, but also what the quality of that program is. And obviously AI, I think, is going to make a lot more change in terms of being able to aggregate very large data sets to also make decisions off of. But I think, I mentioned this before, but people coming home at the end of the day, we have seen a slight increase in fatalities in construction. So I really hope that we will see a dramatic shift away from using those, I don't want to say relics of the past, but those lagging benchmarks like recordable rates, TRIR, DART, so on and so forth, as the only benchmark for major investigations. What we're doing in Highwire is seeing our clients move to SIF potential tracking or a SIF-P tracking, which we believe offers a really major opportunity to improve outcomes during serious events, but also see those serious events before they actually happen.
What a great healthcare professional's background to bring perspective to that issue. I mean, really, it's kind of funny how, we talk about, like, we have a lot of people who have unique paths into construction and insurance. And it's always kind of funny to see the insight and the perspective they bring on the back end to the solutions that they're bringing to market. And you can kind of, the more we talk to you, the more that sort of rings true here as well. So it's interesting, but also, like Mike said, there's really nothing more important on a job site than everybody coming home at the end of the day. And so it's a great just approach to, it's something that would otherwise people might look at it on the surface and be like, oh, this is a tech solution, or this is this is just a solution for contractors, but it's a little bit deeper, a little bit more meaningful than that.
For sure. Yeah. I think one of my favorite adages, I guess, from that industry is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And it's very true, right? If you can get into the point where you're taking care of yourself, you're eating right, you're doing your stretches, you're doing the yoga, running, so on and so forth, you will see less injuries and have a better life as a result of that, and vice versa. If you're not doing those things, you will potentially increase your risk. And risk in this case may be on the job site, and risk from what I knew before was maybe you have an ACL tear or you pulled your hamstring. But it's really interesting to see for me too, because I'm relatively new to the industry, but there is a lot of interesting parallels and comparisons I can make from one to the other.
Yeah, I was just going to say the best risk is the one you don't have to face, right? That you just take care of before it becomes a risk. So that's true risk mitigation there. Well, finally, Shayne, we've covered a lot of ground today, but we certainly can't hit it all. Is there something that maybe we should have asked you about that we didn't get a chance to hit today in the conversation?
Yeah, so I think just to hammer this one point home about our AI reader, we do have this great reader to really analyze documents that a contractor uploads. And we do know how hard it is for the safety teams to really read that documentation. I've seen documents that are over 1,000 pages long. So good luck reading that as one person within the course of a typical business day. So the ability for our AI program to read the document very quickly, categorize each program very well in terms of if it's a comprehensive program or if it's maybe a limited program, and also make sure the GC knows whether the sub they're working for, the sub that GC is working for is truly prepared for their scope of work. We found that to be a huge time savings, A, but B, again, just another great insight into risks that this sub is bringing to the job site if they haven't trained their team to successfully perform well on the job site with their manuals.
Excellent. Well, Shayne, thank you so much for your time today. As you know, this is the Building Byte podcast. It stands for Building Insurance Technology with the Experts. You are today's expert. Now, you're a fellow Northeast guy, just like myself. I'm up in Rhode Island. I know you're in New Hampshire. What's the best place for you? Where are you taking a bite at today?
Well, today I'm actually in Meridian, Idaho, which is right outside of Boise, Idaho. So when you're in Idaho, you have to take a bite out of potatoes, right? So I'm going to go to Big Judd's Burgers, and they have the best fries and the best fry sauce there. But if you ask for fry sauce, don't expect it to be ketchup, because they may rip your head off if you ask for ketchup for fry sauce. So fry sauce is a very interesting thing in Idaho. But yeah, I'll be taking a big bite out of a huge French fry from Big Judd's Burgers in Meridian.
Very nice.
Awesome. Well, Shayne, thank you again for taking the time out to catch up with us again today. If our listeners want to hook up with you after the show, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Where can they find you? Email, LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is probably my preferred. Obviously, if you want to learn more about me, learn more about our products and our services, also go to highwire.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for your time. Definitely appreciate you bringing your background and expertise and perspective to something that's a little bit different for our show, but a very worthwhile topic. And look forward to having you back sometime soon.
Likewise. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Building Bite. This podcast has been brought to you by Proactive. Check us out on thebuildingbite.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on social media for all future The Building Bite news and updates. You can also find us on your favorite apps, including Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Amazon. If you have ideas for episode topics that we should cover on the show, or you know somebody who would be a perfect guest, let us know at connect@thebuildingbite.com.